probably where we get some information as to.
This is also for
Yeah. Yeah.
them. Is it for them?
Yeah.
The roots begin to spin and damage those plants,
Right.
you know, because when you transplant them, now that plant's all
Right.
distorted in the hole, you know. So this system is made so that the root never curls. It just has a chance. The roots communicate with each other. They spread out through. You know, you pull them apart and put them in. So while we use these trays, it's certainly not necessary to always use plastic. And when we do have the plastic, they get reused year after year after year and washed.
But doesn't the form have, well, that too, of course, but also doesn't the form has to be kept in place? For instance, obviously it's easier to use this machine to create these forms and just drop them in these boxes if you need to.
You could, if you can move them. If you need to move them, that's the other thing, is that generally we're moving them just on a tray. So whatever the trays we use, old pieces of wood. In this case, I'm using old pieces of polycarbonate. Because they're rigid enough for me to carry around. I usually carry 120 of those at a time, or whatever.
I'm
space.
taping this, you don't mind, right? That's quite okay.
Great, come along. That's totally
Thank you.
So yeah, you can see here, this, you know, they don't really need to.
Oh, wow.
See, they just
Oh,
germinate right in there.
Right. Right.
And now they're living just fine. They're ready to be planted. Just
Oh,
like that.
wow.
You can see the roots very protected. 120 plants or so per tray, and they don't need, you know.
That solves
pots.
that problem right away there.
Yeah. So the infrastructure is not necessary in that case.
Wow.
And it's simple.
Wow.
Yes. Very
Why is it, what's the purpose of the net?
Birds.
Oh, okay. Of course.
Yeah, entirely.
So they do come in here too.
Well, I try to keep them out, but it's difficult.
Oh, they get in.
You know, when the roof opens here,
They get in.
we need to be able to ventilate, so I'd rather have them out entirely. We're chasing them around most of the time.
But this is
trying
also-
to find people to eat them.
This is an example of a mechanized greenhouse, so to speak,
Yes.
isn't it? So you have all these pipes, and that means that there is a specific time for water or watering, and it's probably automatic and things like that.
We don't automatic water. We entirely, in this system, see, this is a little more advanced system, and I'll show you another soon. So this space, there are a few heaters that we use for this house, and we just maintain this temperature in the winter to 32 degrees. So we just have the coldest 0 degrees, basically, to keep the chill off. And that way we're not spending tens of thousands of dollars in propane.
You're kidding? You mean this is a cheaper version of the? I mean, obviously
This is the low energy model. We're working actually with Cornell right now to be able to hand over an example that we can share with other farmers to encourage them to get back into the greenhouse industry for vegetables. That's really the difficult thing, is to in the industry now. The industry is high energy, high input. And all of these guys now are up against very high fuel costs, and also competition from imports of these products that they've been doing for so long: flower plants, roses, bedding plants, all these different things. So that's become more and more difficult for them to maintain an economic. So we still have thousands of acres of greenhouses in the Northeast that we could use. So we should be doing this.
That's amazing. You have these ventilators that you have all around, which pretty much blows against each other. I mean, I see some here, over there, and then
so
in back
the
there.
air is circulating.
It's circulating.
And then the roof is open, so it gives us airflow.
Oh, and the
to
roof
house.
is open. Ha.
So it's an outdoor system, and that way in the middle of summer, it actually is about 2 or 3 degrees cooler than outside, because we get a light amount of shade. So where most greenhouses would be excessively hot in the summertime, the convertible system, which is really only just to have a longer louver.
Which is good for the plants too.
Well, certainly it's like outside, but protected from all extremes.
Amazing.
And then if it does rain, we have other systems. And like I said, this is a high-tech, generally high-tech, even though it's pretty much bare bone system.
Right. It is still
So
out
this
there.
is the idea.
But
that,
that's how high tech is supposed to be. Simplify it,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
just
Well, we
simplify
haven't
it.
done this for 100 years. We've been, the greenhouse industry is something that has turned into what it is. So the farmers have, especially in this area, within several hundred miles of here, the organic and sustainable practices of farming haven't been lost. People recognize
Right,
that sort of thing. It's not the Midwest.
right.
It's a very different kind of place. So the farming system hasn't changed, but in greenhouses, the example, we stopped growing a lot of diversified produce in greenhouses in the 20s. So imagine the kind of new technology we have since then to incorporate back in food system. The reason we got out of it was not because we couldn't do it, but because there was no necessity because of transportation and import of product from California and beyond.
Educate me, please, if you will. It seems that there are some issues with environmentalists regarding greenhouses. So is this the same greenhouse emissions that they're talking about, or not? Am I?
Well, greenhouse emissions meaning amount of petroleum use and that sort of thing. A greenhouse, this greenhouse, actually to give you an example of the heat system. So the floor itself is all soil, deep soil. So
amazing.
we're standing on concrete here, but
Right
the
there.
concrete pad ends right here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So,
Amazing.
and then it's all soil deep, all no bottom. So the soil, even in the deepest part of winter, the air temperature in here would be 30 degrees Fahrenheit, but the soil will remain about 45 to 50 degrees. So that surface temperature is radiating in the house. So when I put on the heat, and these heaters, they don't have external exhaust. These are a very high-tech Dutch heater. They're actually very difficult to get in this country because no one does low-temperature greenhouse heat. The Dutch do for the bulbs and that sort of thing. So we bought this system, which paid for itself, doubled itself in the first year I put this in. I spent a fifth of the propane, and because it doesn't externally exhaust, it lets out CO2 and water vapor into the system. So that's not CO2 into the atmosphere, that's CO2 as a growth supplement for the plants. So the plants thrive on CO2, so you could continue to give them more, and they'll absorb that. That's not something that's going negative effect to the atmosphere. In fact, I would venture to say even with petroleum use, we're easily carbon neutral in this house.
Amazing.
Oh,
Amazing.
wow.
Amazing.
So in terms of that, this is a way, as opposed to other greenhouse system like this may spend $50,000 a month at this same size in propane or natural gas or whatever they're using to heat the space.
So what kind of vegetables are you growing here?
So here there's mixes, because this produces year-round, we produce things like fennel. Here these are baby carrots.
Oh,
They're
lovely.
just coming in. They've been seeding very regularly. Spinach is a very valuable crop for us. So we're constantly producing spinach.
They look fabulous. Look at this. It's amazing.
And we also do a lot of microgreens like baby kales, baby mustard, baby choy. Find they're growing
wow.
baby bok choy.
Yeah.
So to give you an example here,
This is amazing. I thought this only comes from China.
so 317. So now this crop is ready to pick.
Oh,
It's grown for less than a month. So since the 13th, it was seeded on the 17th of March. Right, and it's ready to harvest now. It's by weight, based on if you were to transplant out, in that same amount of time, it's 2 times the weight as you would get for a big bok choy in a third amount of the time. So you're getting 6 times the value of that product by growing a smaller crop, even though it's a baby. And then there's also no processing. You cut them and wash them, and it's all eaten whole.
Now, question before we move on. How long does it take for you to replant? So how long does it take for the soil to recycle itself and be prepared to be used again?
It takes well, this is a good example. So I'll pick this on